Hello and welcome to the War Room. We're actually about to start session 2 of a new campaign. The Brazil campaign is dead and gone, and unfortunately almost no one wanted to continue it, even on the side. So, yep, that's what happens in multiplayer. RIP. Anyway, I was placed on Prussia, and we're about to start session 2. So, if you don't want any spoilers, because I haven't yet started editing or uploading the series, then turn this video off and maybe watch it later if you like. But if you want to get up to speed really fast, and especially if you want to hop onto the stream and see what's going on in real time, then I recommend you go ahead and watch. But let's talk about what happened last session first. The most significant thing that happened, in my opinion, was Austria's incursion into Italy. Austria declared war on the Papal States for the state of Romagna. The Papal State was in France's sphere, and in a surprise upset in a 1v1 France versus Austria, France lost and got completely devastated, actually. Made some really poor choices after that, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Anyway, Austria ended up with 2 states from Italy. Italy and Austria have a deal we'll talk about in a bit. But basically, after the war, France went through and, as you probably know, if you look at the soldier pop indicators for any particular brigade, if it's white, that means you have enough population to support the brigade. If it's yellow, it means you have more than one, but less than the amount needed. And if it's red, you don't have enough for even a single brigade, right? Well, anyway, France went through after the war and clicked the red skull button, which gets rid of all of your red troops. So he just completely gutted his army. His idea was to rebuild a better army with artillery, but unfortunately there's a massive artillery shortage and France just is not getting any. Which means at this very moment, France has a whopping 22 brigades. As you can see, I've got about 4 times that, almost 5 times that, and that's not including mobilized troops. But because France was so devastated, soon after I formed the NGF, I started justifying an acquired state, obviously for Alsace and Lorraine. Right at the end of the session, I declared war. And at the moment, there's only a single battle, which doesn't look great. But I have run this simulation about 5 times against the AI. In all but one, I just completely steamrolled France. And then the one outlier was a very long and boring war, but I ended up winning anyway. So basically, France has UK, Spain, and a few AI allies in this war. Spain isn't really wanting to take part, and the United Kingdom isn't fully committed to this war either. Plus, it's just for Alsace and Lorraine. Now, the way this would normally play out in multiplayer is either France instantly surrenders, or it's a long and drawn-out war, and then Germany or NGF or Prussia takes French Comte and maybe something else if there's enough infamy to permit it. That's kind of boring to me. So rather than doing the typical blob Germany thing that people do, I'm going to do things a little bit differently. And my plan is to take part in the colonial game. Now, since I want to take part in the colonial game, I need to keep France from taking part in the colonial game. So one of the first things I did after forming NGF was start sphering Madagascar. And France was just asleep at the wheel. Let me unsphere it and then sphere it myself. And currently, I'm in a sphere battle with France, Netherlands, Spain, and also I think UK. And so far I've been holding them off. And if you want to see how I did that, I highly recommend, shameless plug, that you watch part 3 of my From Zero to Hero series, where I talk about all the finer details of Victoria 2. That whole video, which is, I don't know how many minutes long, maybe 40 minutes long, is devoted to nothing but spheres of influence. Now, so far there are only 3 parts, and I am planning to make part 4, but goddamn, that's going to be a long video. There's so many details to waging war. But anyway, I basically cock-blocked France by keeping them from pressing a button when the time comes and integrating Madagascar. So, the way this would typically play out in a multiplayer game is long protracted war, taking multiple states off France, and just being bitter rivals till the end. Well, I decided that's not how I want to do things, and actually I don't want to play the typical Germany blob game. I want to play the more interesting naval power Germany game. So here's the deal that I made France. And France actually accepted, spoilers. France is going to surrender this war and they're going to lose Alsace-Lorraine. France is also going to give me 4 colonial states for free. We start off with this one here, which is French West Indies, a single province. We have East Ivory Coast, again a single province. We have 2 provinces, French Senegal, and we have French Madras, which is way over here. Now together, those 4 states and 5 provinces have approximately 200k pops. In return for those 4 colonial states, and Alsace-Lorraine. We get a non-aggression pact for the next session, and I will let France sphere Madagascar without intervention. So France gets Madagascar back, they can integrate it for free. They get 3 states and about 500 K-pops, 2 states which are coastal, and in return I get 200 K-pops plus Alsace-Lorraine, and I get basically 20 infamy worth of colonies for free, and 4 naval bases which I can use to spread my influence around the world. The other nice thing about having these one province naval bases is that no one really wants to take them from you because it costs 5 infamy for a single province. And it's not a good province either, it's a little shit province with no pop. So good luck to anyone who wants them. I hope you've got infamy to burn. But obviously I'll have naval range all over the place, and I'm looking to max out naval bases and, battle against the UK. Also, as part of this treaty, in addition to the non-aggression pact, which means I don't have to worry about France backdooring me this session, France is renouncing all territorial claims to Western Africa, which means I don't have to compete with them in this area. Of course, they'll have all of Eastern Africa, they can do whatever, and the only person I really have to worry about in this area is going to be the UK. And that's fine. It's kind of what I expected, but that's one less person to have to deal with for a while. Other things that are going on. Last session, Prussia, Austria, and Russia had a 3-way defensive alliance. This session, that's been downgraded to a 3-way non-aggression pact, but NGF and Austria also have an offensive and defensive alliance, so I'll be calling Austria into wars, Austria will be calling me into wars, and we'll be helping each other. Austria has made a deal with Italy, which goes like this. Italy can use acquire states on any place that Austria chooses, and if they take that state, and let's say they declare war for Bosnia. Italy justifies and acquires a state for Bosnia. Italy and Austria declare war and take Bosnia. Italy gets Bosnia and then transfers it to Austria. In return, Italy gets one of its states back. So presumably, Austria will feed Italy its land back in return for infamy spent elsewhere. And by elsewhere, I mean in the Ottoman Empire, because Austria is going to Slazertown. So I feel really bad for the Ottomans, but, that's what happens when you're the Ottomans. Just kind of everyone's punching bag if people decide they want your land, but what can you do? Other treaties. United Kingdom has a defensive alliance with Netherlands. United Kingdom also has a defensive alliance with Colombia. That has nothing to say about the canal, although presumably once Grand Colombia forms, the canal will be given to UK, but it's not in the treaties, so technically last resort could try and backstab the UK, but he does so at his own peril. Colombia and Chile had a border agreement, which is Peru and everything north go to Colombia. Chilean cores, Bolivia, and everything south were to be reserved for Chile, but that didn't take into account a Brazilian player, so that player is probably not going to agree to this arrangement, and it remains to be seen what's going to happen. There might be some people throwing down in South America, but in the north, we've got a very mismanaged United States versus a reasonably competent Mexico. As you can see, we've got 48 brigades, including mobilized troops, with a military tech of 6, versus 38 brigades, including mobilized, with a military tech of 5. Mexico is trying to take land from USCA. Mexico is not technically allied with the UK, although I think that could still happen in game, so look for some interventions in this area. The United States should at this point be ahead of Mexico in both research and soldiers, but yeah, not so much. Also look for a likely British intervention in the Civil War, and likely Mexico also supporting the CSA, so United States is looking for allies, and things do not look good right now. I would love to help, but as it is right now, I've got 3 ships. Not enough at this moment to help, but hopefully later on I'll be able to do something in that regard. So I am looking to the United States for a long-term alliance later on, and actually was talk about allying with the United States last session, but it's just kind of pointless because we can't really help each other from across the sea right now. Other things that are going on. Because I spent my influence in Madagascar, I actually haven't yet sphered Baden-Württemberg or Bavaria, but doing so should be fairly easy, especially once I take Alsace-Lorraine. Really no one else can get in here to influence them aside from Austria, but I don't know why we would want to if we're helping each other. Be kind of a dick move. But anyway, that's my top priority for this session. I do have to wait until 1850 for the tech to get the invention to form the German Empire. Also, I have sphered Denmark, and I allowed Sweden to take Jylland, but last session we did work out a border agreement. It hasn't been written in a treaty, but assuming it still holds, it goes like this. I'm going to need Denmark first because I can form Germany in 7 years. Sweden has to become a GP and get the same tech that I'm waiting on, so they can't form Scandinavia any faster than I can form Germany. We both need Schleswig in order to form our respective unions. Denmark is in my sphere. Once I sphere these 3 German minors, then I'll be all set and I can press the button and form Germany. Once I do that, I'm going to transfer Schleswig to Sweden, let him form Scandinavia, and in return for letting him do that, I'll get Schleswig back plus Jylland. So that's another 11 infamy state that I'll be getting for free. It's not very high pop, but hey, it looks nice and it's a free state, so I'm not complaining. And then, it's a little bit weaker Scandinavia, but just the fact that I'm letting him form Scandinavia, I think is probably worth it. So the alternative is I get Schleswig, he never gets it, he never forms Scandinavia, so it's kind of up to him. But that's the deal that we worked out last session. Other things going on. Russia has a non-aggression pact with Japan. This also includes a border agreement where Sakhalin, Manchuria, and Korea all go to Japan. And basically Russia keeps what it has and can take Mongolia and other things, presumably. But Russia just wants to expand south here, which really sucks for the Persia player, but that's what happens when you play Persia. I think those are all the treaties in effect right now, so let's talk about plans. Obviously, Austria is going into Slasertown. I can't expand southwest because of non-aggression pact, south because of defensive alliance. Switzerland has neutrality, so that's off the table. Got a non-aggression pact with Russia, so I don't have to worry about Poland. Basically, I'm fine with Russia expanding east and south if I can expand elsewhere and we don't have to worry about this border. Don't need to go north because, number one, it's shit land, but also we've got the border agreement worked out. That leaves a few obvious targets. Number one, primitives around the world. And number 2, UK and Netherlands. Now, I did my best to form the NGF just as quickly as I possibly could, but unfortunately there was a little bit of intervention from both the United Kingdom and the Netherlands. It just annoyed me a little bit. And since I've been annoyed a little bit, I demand reparations. And the reparations that I'm demanding are from the Netherlands, and that comes in the form of East and West Java. Which really sucks for the Netherlands because I was hoping at the beginning of session 1 that Netherlands and I would be, on good terms, allied, and basically put up a solid front against UK, France, anyone else who wanted to support France, basically. Now, even though Netherlands isn't outright backing France, they did slow me down in forming the NGF a little bit, and they also have been trying to fight me in Madagascar, which is, again, helping France rather than helping me. So that's a really odd choice when you've got this big neighbor with a giant military that's very effective. It's actually the highest tech military in the game from players. I think Sweden, no, higher than Sweden. I'm currently tech 9. UK and France are both tech 6. Spain is 5. In the New World, they're at 6. Everyone else is 5. Jesus Christ, this is bad. Is anyone higher? How about Austria? It's got to be higher. Oh, he's 5 as well. Okay, apparently people don't care about being invaded. Really weird situation. Anyway, my military is the best in the world. I can say that unequivocally at this point. So I need someone to throw it at, and right now that person is the Netherlands because he mildly annoyed me. And that's just what happens when you mildly annoy your North German neighbor. You lose your colonies, and there goes a third of your pop. UK is defensively allied with the Netherlands, but there's just no way they're going to be able to hold up because there's no chance at all, ever. He's dead. Now, after he loses those colonies, he can do whatever. If he wants to ally France, that's cool. But France can't intervene in this war, and neither can really anyone else. And I don't think they would have reason to. Plus, since I'm calling Austria into this war, that means Italy can't get involved because they're allied with each other. Spain could maybe come in, but really, there's just no hope for the Netherlands. This is a really bad situation for him. I don't usually like to call out people's bad diplomacy, but this might be a situation where I'd have to do that. In the future, there's little chance of him getting those colonies back. I do expect at some point Japan's going to try and take them from me, or maybe even the UK. But it all depends on whether they want to spend infamy on it. So if they do, great. But just realize you can't 100% someone by taking 2 colonies that are only worth 12 each. So there's going to have to be some sort of land invasion if they want those colonies back. Of course, they could add it as part of some other war, but I'm definitely not going to make it easy for them. Plus, with all the new naval bases that I'll have, I'm looking to greatly expand my navy. UK currently has 190 ships. Obviously, I won't be able to match the UK, but I'm hoping to give them a run for their money at least. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, it kind of depends on who decides to support the UK and who doesn't. There is a possibility, of course, that in Session 3 everyone will have a massive anti-German coalition. I would expect to see that more in the typical blob Germany game. It could happen, I don't deny it. I just think it's really unlikely given the deals that have been worked out. So my plans for Session 3, obviously I'll be doing the trades with France, and then be taking those 2 colonies off the Netherlands. One will be the justification, which could be 0 to 5 infamy. The other one will be 5 infamy. So I'll have between 14 and 19 infamy to burn off. And I'm not planning to do anything else in Session 2 aside from burn off infamy, which I can use later. So, we'll see what happens with the diplomacy between Sessions 2 and 3, and where I decide to go from there. But top priority is obviously preparing for colonization, because I want to have a big impact on colonization. Unlike the typical Germany, which gets jack shit. I'm also hoping I can out-micro the UK when it comes to colonization, but that depends on a lot of things. I won't say anything about how likely that is to occur, but, there's a little bit of tension there. We'll see what happens as things develop. Another shameless plug for my From Zero to Hero series, which, as it stands right now, is about 2.5 hours worth of video just on improving your Victoria 2 game. So if you've got the patience and you're tired of watching the Slazer economic guide for the millionth time, come watch something that'll walk you through in a slightly more directed and coherent manner. And I have not yet made part 4. Part 4 is going to be the big one, which is, of course, combat, war, of course, strategies for war. That is going to be an incredibly long video. Probably split that one into 2. I'm just not mentally prepared for that video yet, because as you may or may not be aware, I do edit all of my videos, and I typically record 3 to 4 times as much raw video as actually goes into the final product, and I'm just not mentally prepared to sit down for 6 hours of discussing micro strategies for Victoria 2 combat. We will get to that at some point, just not yet. Also, as I mentioned, this is a series that has not yet been edited or uploaded. If you are so inclined, you can go back and watch the events that led to the current state of the world as they played out. I think I've covered everything. Last things I want to mention, I'm involved in 3 campaigns right now. Obviously the Friday one, which has been on hold for the last 2 sessions. I've also got some videos to still edit and upload from that. There's a Saturday multiplayer clusterfuck EU4 game, which I'm not editing or uploading. But if you want to see it, you can watch it over on Prussian Prince's channel. He's playing Spain, I'm playing Barat, and we haven't really interacted at all because we're on opposite sides of the world. And Sunday there's this campaign. And I think that wraps things up. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.